Welcome to Mainland, your local regional television station. I'm Graham O'Brien and some of the stories coming up in today's news. Police seek hoax bomber, a local inventor looks skyward, Kiwis need to get out and about, and more. An elderly driver has died following a crash on the corner of High Street and King Edward Street in Motueka last week. Motueka police attended what was to all accounts a minor two-car crash last Thursday afternoon. Following the crash, an 89-year-old female driver was taken to Nelson Hospital for treatment. Senior Sergeant Coford of Nelson Police stated that, sadly, the elderly woman died at Nelson Hospital the following day. The matter has been referred to the coroner and is under investigation by police to determine if the crash was a causative factor in the death of the woman rather than any other existing medical condition. The search is on for a hoax caller after a bomb threat was telephoned into police emergency lines shortly before 4 a.m. Saturday morning. The caller said that a bomb had been placed in a house bus occupied by an individual at the Maitai Motor Camp in Nelson and was due to explode 30 minutes later. Senior Sergeant Coford of Nelson Police stated that local police attended and evacuated the named target and other camp residents from the area, who were all safe and well. As a precautionary measure, New Zealand Defence Forces bomb technicians arrived from Wellington. They conducted a thorough examination of the area but failed to locate anything suspicious. Police are now following leads to identify the hoax caller and ask that any person with information which may assist police to identify the caller to contact Nelson Police. We have a story for you about a local inventor whose Kiwi ingenuity meets a third-generation passion for flying. I spoke with Adrian Kingsford about what he's been up to in his backyard. Adrian Kingsford, you describe yourself as an inventor, storyteller, writer and a remote-controlled aerial film operator, which is what we're talking about today. Can you give us a bit of a background on how you got involved in this?
Yeah, I'd be happy for anyone who's watching, of course. In New Zealand we have a lot of interesting people. I'd like to meet more of them, but for me it goes back 3 generations. Yeah. My grandfather, Alfred Reg Kingsford, he goes through the Royal Flying Corps. Their life expectancy at one stage, 3 days? And somehow he made it through literally on the seat of his pants, open cockpits, freezing cold conditions, etc. So his book, which I've got the blessing of having and I'm rewriting, is still inspiring to me this day. Yeah, I started off doing model aircraft and camera work with the love of my father's photographic collection. So, as you know, Hugh Kingsford, the Nelson Museum, is an integral part of that and proud that it's there. Yep. Sure. So that's how we got going with planes, model planes and cameras.
Yeah, and you've used a bit of Kiwi ingenuity and you're a bit unique and one could say even retro in this aerial camera filmmaking. Yeah. Can you tell us a bit more about this side of it, please?
Yes, a lot of things today, unfortunately, the young ones who are interested in model aircraft or aviation, what concerns me, just answering your question in a roundabout way, they buy it off the shelf, whereas in my generation, and there are many others out there, you made it yourself. You learned how to do it, good old Kiwi fashion. You've got your pencil, your bit of paper, and then you've got your slide rule and your T-square and all that sort of thing. So my latest 4 designs, which have taken about 6 years to put together, they're doing some interesting things, and I believe I've got a couple of world-breaking shots from them, particularly that Enviroplane, which we chatted about before.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about the Enviroplane?
Right, well the thing is, I'm a Kiwi and I love the image of New Zealand being kept green, absolutely. So being hand launchable and backpackable, you imagine a guy like me coming up to a place, say the centre of New Zealand or the Abel Tasman, and setting it up pretty quickly. Must always be still conditions, of course, and being very careful about the light. So catching the light is what I'm all about. And I think that's the beauty of these things, the hand launchable. You can go in anywhere, set it up quickly, and it's a world first. It's entirely designed here in New Zealand. It's not an off-the-shelf thing.
And how are they different? How is it, the Enviroplane, how is it different than our modern-day drones?
Well, first of all, there's no auto-stabilisation, so the atmospheric conditions have to be perfect. And that teaches you all the time about the environment we live in. You're looking at the sky. You're looking at the water, the wind ripples and things like this,
Yeah.
So like a lot of film people, there's a narrow opportunity and you might be there 1 day out of 5 to get that perfect shot.
Yeah.
You fly it all manually, you've got that eye contact with your little bird in the sky, and it's a great experience.
And are you governed by the same rules, the strict rules that have come in about drones and filming?
Well, not entirely, no, and that's the beauty of it. But still, as a former ATC young person and former junior pilot, if I was to be asked to do a shot that was anywhere near the edge of a city, you go and contact the air traffic control, you find out through the relevant authorities, you plan your shot, and that's very important.
Because it is actually a model aeroplane.
That's right. Yep.
With the camera, so
Yeah.
they are governed by rules.
Yes, and the model fraternity in New Zealand are very aware of that. Fortunately, we haven't had any major mishaps such as in America or Europe. I think one of these drones flew close to the wing of a jet, and you certainly don't want to end up in that situation, do you?
And you can pull off different kind of shots than what you could get from a drone. In what way could you?
Well,
could
for
you give an
instance,
example?
really eye-catching shot. And I'll give you an example. Being launchable by hand, we can start off by having a person in front of the lens telling a story, and it might be about the environment. Then again, it could be some dear old senior citizen who went through the Royal Air Force and he's no longer able to fly, so the camera would pan back, and then the next thing is we're stepping off over a cliff. So it conveys to the viewer the ground footage combined with the air footage, but the landing shots, oh wow, you've got to see some of these. They are just so dramatic. Flying into, for instance, a controlled crash shot to a tree. Lots of possibilities.
Yeah. Kiwis are adventurers by nature, venturing on big OEs and intrepid trips. And as we come back from our various holiday destinations, it's interesting to learn that although we're extremely likely to recommend New Zealand as a holiday destination, locals are not as likely to take their own advice. A recent study has found that 83% of the 10,000 Kiwis surveyed feel they haven't seen enough of their own country.
Of those Nelsonians surveyed, 72% have said that they have seen a fair bit of New Zealand but could definitely see more. Nelson has the highest percentage of travellers, with 65% of people saying that they have taken a 10-day trip either overseas or in New Zealand in the last year. The main reason people from Nelson don't travel more often is due to the cost, 60% higher than the national average of 49%. 84% of people from Nelson say the natural surroundings are the best things about travelling New Zealand. Nelson has the lowest percentage of respondents who own a home at 52%, compared to national average of 67%, but has the highest percentage at 37% of respondents who felt that they were likely to buy a house in the next 10 years. Nelson has the highest percentage of tent ownership, 63%, versus the national average of 47%. 40% of those surveyed from Nelson said owning a motorhome or caravan would encourage them to travel more, compared to the national average of 25%. 47% from Nelson said that they would consider living in a caravan or motorhome semi-permanently, which is 6 months or more, the highest percentage in the country, with the national average at 32%. 45% of people from Nelson felt it was too expensive to buy a holiday home or batch. And in Tasman, 56% of the people surveyed said that they have been to the United Kingdom, compared to a national average of 43%. 39% rate Abel Tasman National Park as the place most worth seeing in New Zealand, compared to the national average of 16% rating it as a destination to see. People from Tasman would recommend seeing New Zealand by motorhome, campervan, over driving or flying. 31% of people from Tasman think women are better at navigating on a trip. 38% of people from Tasman said they would consider living in a caravan or motorhome semi-permanently for 6 months or more, compared to the national average of 32%. 48% of people from Tasman felt it was too expensive to buy a holiday home or batch. And when asked what they were most likely to purchase in the next 10 years, 25% of Tasman people said a motorhome or caravan, 19% said a house, 8% said a boat, 5% a tent, and 3% said a batch.
Takaka-born cyclist Jack Bauer is gearing up to compete again after suffering a broken left femur in a cycling crash, keeping him off his bike until October last year. Bauer's enthusiasm to become the first New Zealander to win a stage on the Tour de France hasn't waned during the 6-month-long healing of his bone injury, the first breakage the cyclist has experienced, which occurred in a gnarly crash during Stage 5 of the Tour last July. And now Bauer is getting his life and body on track, hoping to return to racing next month at a small 5-day tour in Spain. Competing in the Tour de France in Normandy remains high on Jack's list of to-dos for 2016, as well as representing New Zealand at the Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro. The Met Service has issued a severe weather warning, which includes the areas of Nelson and Richmond Ranges. The warning is for a period of significant and intense heavy rain, which is expected from midday Monday into Tuesday, with 100 to 180 millimetres likely to accumulate in 15 to 18 hour period. A low pressure system over the Tasman Sea is expected to move across the region, bringing with it significant periods of rain in a very humid northerly flow. The heavy rain is expected from midday Monday through to 3 a.m. Tuesday. It is forecast that 100 to 150 millimetres is likely to accumulate in the ranges, while 50 to 90 millimetres could accumulate in some low-lying areas. Maximum rainfall intensities of 25 to 35 millimetres per hour from Monday night. It is recommended that people be prepared for this heavy rainfall and be vigilant, especially around rivers and streams. After the break, we'll bring you the latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.
Are you looking for a scooter, walker, wheelchair, baby seats or pushchairs? Then come in and see the Nelson Region Specialist at Mobility for You, 269 Queen Street, Richmond, opposite the library. We have a huge selection of scooters, walkers, wheelchairs and accessories, along with a free booklet guide. We also provide a breakdown service if you ever get a puncture or a flat battery. We have fully equipped service vans to rescue you. Hi, I'm Robin Jordan and I invite you to call in and see the friendly team at Mobility for You, 269 Queen Street, Richmond, opposite the library.
Welcome me hearties to Smuggler's Pub and Cafe, famous for hearty meals, craft ales and a friendly service way. Sensational seasonal menus with meals all day and evening too, or sail in for a snack with special menus for young smugglers and you. Settle in for a jolly old time, relax and enjoy our award-winning dining and lovely fine wine. Decked out in an old worldly way, we're open 7 days. Book or come on in to 8 Muritai Street, not far from a beach, walk or swim. Phone 546408.
We're the team at JCar, right here in Nelson, 120 Hardy Street. Our shop is full of electronic items,
including security alarm systems, electronic components,
solar and power,
electronics toys,
sound systems, cables and much, much more. JCar.
120 Hardy Street, Nelson.
Why would you want to pay as much as $1,000 for a single bed mattress when you can buy a high quality locally made mattress like this for as little as $220? And a queen size mattress could cost you in excess of $3,000, but at Nelson Beds you could have a mattress like this as low as $425. So why would you go out and spend a fortune on your child's bedroom when you can come to Nelson Beds and buy a complete single mattress and base set, a 7-drawer Scotch chest, a headboard and a 3-drawer bedside cabinet for as little as $979? So call and discuss our custom manufacturing options and local after sales service at Nelson Beds, Nelson's only bedding manufacturer.
Sunday the 24th of January is the 19th Tata Titanic Cardboard Boat Race from 9 a.m. at Tata Beach in Golden Bay. Cardboard crafts resembling wedding cakes, BMWs and even fire engines will brave the waves. Spot prizes have been donated by local businesses. Entry is $10 per boat and spectators are free. On Tuesday the 19th, Nelson Park's program has ageless yoga at Founders, meeting at the aeroplane from 11 a.m. till 12 p.m. And in the evening, try paddle boarding out at Monaco Boat Ramp from 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. This is a chance to have a go at New Zealand's fastest growing water sport. On behalf of the team here at Mainland Television News, thank you for joining us, and we'll bring you the latest news and events from around the region again tomorrow.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.